we help people really create their business plan. So people come to us, they come to us sometimes with an idea and some funding, and then they look at the marketplace and they're saying, okay, look, we want to be involved in this explosion. So how do we interface? And that can be done from the farmer side. Now, starting there, farmers typically they're growing corn and they're growing soy and they're looking at prices and they're like, okay, I want to upgrade my crops, and I want to sell hemp instead of these items. Okay, well, the big barrier there is the channel to market, which is the vapor pen. So you're going to from basically a planted good or biomass to the actual end product, and then the end product, of course, you have a brand, you have retail, you have all that stuff. So you have to be able to plug into those channels that have the brands, that have the retail, that have the customers, that are creating the demand for your biomass product. Just don't. A lot of people, they'll just go out and start growing it because they want it's legal, and it's a really good way to lose a lot of money. The second place of entry really is the manufacturing side. And that's where you're converting the biomass into oils and or products for wholesale or your own brand. It's a really great place to enter because you're upgrading a product, which is the biomass, to something where there's multiple points of margin. So a lot of people have entered at that level, and then there's the pure, strict retail brand level, and that just takes you can see the skill sets are completely different from the farming to, bringing it into a manufacturing facility and converting everything into a real product. And then also then onto, a real product out into the brand. So once you have that brand, of course, that's where you hit the consumers, and the consumers are saying, well, I like this, I don't like this. Here I'm going to buy this brand because it really looks good. And it was intermittent. Both of my parents were teachers, so they would typically, work late, and I spent a lot of dinners actually at school where everybody was gone for the day, but I would spend them at school. So it was okay. There was the gym there, of course, and there was students there for after school activities and stuff, and spent a lot of time with high school students because they were in the high school. So even as a young kid, I spent a lot of time there. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. So we had a lot of dinners there, and then around the dinner table, it was we grew up around our grandparents, and so we had a lot of that also. So I can't complain. I'm very blessed.
Well, that's good. That's good. And so do you think that being around older kids helped influence you to kind of like push you a little bit further ahead than what your age was, would you say?
Yeah, more so my older brother.
Okay.
He definitely had a pretty big impact on me, just from the standpoint of he's an accountant and very precise and everything. I'm more artsy, and so that had a pretty big effect on me. And also just also in your work and things like that, because I spent a lot of time with a lot of the older kids. Yeah, I mean it had a huge impact. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that I could absolutely see how that would be the case. Did you have any type of entrepreneurial tendencies growing up as a kid? Were you selling anything or trying to? No, you
No,
the bug didn't hit you till later.
No,
Huh?
it kind of was. No, I mean, I know there are those guys that are out there, right? They like are born sellers. They're that they're going to be selling something when they get older. I went into science, and that led me to into graduate school. I got a PhD in analytical chemistry, and what really kind of jettisoned me into the whole idea of being an entrepreneur is I started to work for an entrepreneur. That was my first job. And he was my mentor, business mentor, really. And he really pulled me into, hey, here's how a small business works. here's how you get started.
Mhm.
Here's how you build a business. He did that with me as a young scientist, which was really great because he ended up promoting me up through his organization, and I ended up doing a lot of business development and science together. So it's kind of melded, kind of the two expertises
Mhm.
that I have: business, startup, and then science. So I've done a lot of business startups, not only for myself, but hundreds of other people. I've put them into the business of hemp processing and cannabis processing and making all kinds of products, vape products, gummies, everything. So
Yeah,
we've really put a lot of people into business.
that's cool. So what made you get into the hemp and CBD business? What was there any type of a catalyst or anything like that that brought you in that direction?
Well, okay. You always have college buddies, right?
Yeah.
And I had a college buddy, and he basically said, "Hey, John, I'm going to go write an application for cannabis in Minnesota." And he wanted to know if I wanted to do the technical science side of it. He was a medical doctor, emergency medical doctor at the time, and so we were actually a pretty good team. We wrote the application. He did a lot of the political stuff, a lot of the business stuff. He kind of was very good at putting a team together, and I focused on putting the whole science side of it together. And I had a company at the time that I used basically to get that all done. We had 4 PhDs on staff, and so we ended up building out that facility, which was a grow facility that then converted the plants into oils, and then the oils into products. And we
Mhm.
formulated products. We were doing pretty advanced products back when the industry was still very young back in 2015. So they're very advanced. Even for now, they were advanced. We were pulling the different cannabinoids apart and then putting them back together in unique formulations that the plant couldn't do, for example, and making kind of engineering the experience for our customers. And they were all medicines based. So you wanted to have complete, consistent dosing. You wanted to have consistent different cannabinoids at different specific ratios. So we were doing all that at
Got
the
it.
time. It was a
So
lot of fun.
yeah, no, so this is actually fascinating. So when you're saying that you applied for an application, I'm assuming that that means that you essentially wanted to, uh, for layman's terms, have a license to be able to grow it. Is that basically what you were referring to with that?
Yeah. Yeah. So in the US, THC obviously is the component of marijuana that will get you high.
Yeah.
And that is regulated currently in two different levels. One is the state level, and then the other is the federal level. At the federal level, that molecule still is an evil molecule. And it's still on what's called considered to be Schedule One,
Okay.
which means that it has no medical benefit. The states around the union have recognized, however, that hey, maybe the FDA and the DEA have this wrong. Over the millennia, people have taken THC for many medicinal reasons, and so they enacted laws within their own states that legalized it within the borders of that state. And a good example of this that most people know about is, for example, Colorado or California, where they legalized it. Now, what has happened is a lot of the states in the union have basically followed suit, and now over half of those states are now legal in some sort of way. So it's whether it's legal from a medical standpoint or legal from a recreational standpoint, there's a lot of momentum along those lines. And there's momentum also along the lines of people going into, making it nationally legal or federally legal, like Canada has, for example. So, you know, so what people do is they go from state to state and they apply for licenses, and these are competitive licenses.
Mhm.
And in the case of Minnesota, there's only 2 manufacturers in the whole entire state who have licenses out of hundreds of people who
Oh,
apply.
wow.
So same thing with all the other medical states. Good example that would be New York. For example, I think there's approximately five licensed manufacturers or producers, as opposed to say Colorado, which has thousands, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's more of a controlled way of rolling out, you know, cannabis into a state where it can be controlled with a small number of manufacturers versus a large number of manufacturers. And of course, those licenses can be quite lucrative, and they're very competitive. Yeah.
Yeah. This is really interesting. So are you like explain what you do with your company? You do you actually grow it, or you mentioned that you help other people get involved in the business? What exactly do you guys do?
Right. So they're basically within the cannabis industry and the hemp industry. There are two distinct industries. Okay, one of them is the cannabis industry, and that's where, like I just mentioned, the state by state laws people apply and they're put into business by the state. We help those cannabis manufacturers convert their flower into products. For example, we'll help them extract all of their you know plant material, make oils,
Hmm.
distill that oil into a very potent oil, and then formulate that oil into, say, a vapor. Okay, we do that exact same thing in the world of hemp, where a lot of people are growing, instead of growing 50,000 square feet of cannabis, you would grow 50 acres of cannabis. Okay, only it wouldn't be cannabis; it would be considered hemp. The main difference and the distinction between the two markets is that the hemp um, plant material itself is less than 0.3% THC. So, that's the main difference. People grow it in the field; it's considered a crop. In the 2018 bill, really put people into the business of basically extracting, growing hemp in a major way.
Hmm.
Okay, so you find people, if you look around in your state, you probably have hundreds of growers there growing anywhere from two acres up to 10 acres. Now, those people want to be able to also move that plant material into products. Okay, so we put the people, our customers, into the business of the conversion of the plant material into products, and
Okay.
we do for ingredients manufacturers. People who want to just make, for example, powders or distillate oils, or what they call full spectrum oils. It's the oils that are most like the plant. And there's people who make ingredients, and then we also help people go all the way through to actual end products. And we do this on a global basis. And we do this in GMP environments as well, which are like FDA controlled environments. That's typically in Canada, and then also in Europe, and South America, and Central America. So we're all over the place. We just put people into the business of extracting their plants and making products. So
Yeah.
consumer goods products.
So obviously in the last couple of years, there's been, different CBD shops and stores and products and that have sprung up, if you will.
Right.
The types of plants that you're talking about, more of the hemp based type plants, that's where the CBD oil comes from, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So the stores that you see out on the marketplace, if you're in a those, there's two different kinds. Obviously, if you're in a cannabis state, one of those might be, like a dispensary, an actual dispensary. But a lot of the CBD stores that you see popping up, those are just hemp stores. And all they are is they're taking the products that come out of the hemp plant and they're selling. And so that's what a lot of people are doing. Yep.
Okay.
Typically hemp derived. Yeah.
And what types of products can you make? Obviously you have the CBD oil. What other types of products can you make out of hemp? I mean, I know I've seen
Yeah.
hemp for
So
years and years, but
right. Well, let me kind of go into some of the hemp oil ideas there. First of all, CBD oil or hemp CBD oil. These are oils that come out. So they're kind of oily. They're resinous. Okay. They're thick and they smell wonderful. They're gorgeous. Okay. And strains will have different smells and flavors and aromas associated with them, but there's all types of different types of hemp oils. One hemp oil, kind of hemp oil, will come from the seed, and that's where they crush up the seed and then make hemp oil. And that actually has no cannabinoids in it whatsoever. Okay, so that's one type, and you can find that at Costco or wherever. Now, when you go into some of the oils, on the flower of the hemp plant are these little mushroom-based structures, and they look clear, and they're called trichomes. And simply, that's where all the cannabinoids are made. That's where all the terpenes, which are people for flavor and aroma, that's where all they're made. So you extract that off using CO2, which is really great because it's super clean, it's clinical grade, and you don't have to worry about residual solvents in your extracts the way, say, other techniques do. So gone are the days of you look up a book and you say, okay, use benzene or gasoline to extract your marijuana. No, that's not a good idea. Okay, because you have that toxic stuff in there. So if you use CO2, what's nice about it is that it's super clean, right? It's like bubbles you're using bubbles to extract your plant. So that will create what they call a CBD oil. Okay, and it's kind of thick. And then what a lot of people like to do is they like to refine that oil to create other different types of oils. So one type of oil, they'll take the refining of that oil, they'll take the waxes out of that oil. Okay, so now you have CBD oil plus waxes, and those waxes actually can be used in all kinds of cosmetical goods. They're very nice and silky. And then that de-waxed oil can be further refined into distillate oil and CBD distillate. And then that can even be refined into a pure CBD powder, which is called CBD isolate. So that's kind of the train of it. People use those different forms of CBD to create different products. And these include gummies. They include things like, edibles, even, some people market edibles. Some people don't market edibles. Vapor pens, tinctures, all kinds of things. So there really is no limit, except for what the FDA says you can and cannot do. And they don't even have very clear rules as to what you can and cannot do. So there's a little bit of, still, there has to be a little bit more of a definition in the market for there to be a huge explosion. But we're at about $5 billion, $6 billion in overall, and the market is supposed to grow to 25, 27, depending, on which report you're reading, $1 billion in size over the next couple of years.
And that just started in 2015, right? That's basically when.
The lid blew off in 2018. That's when the bill happened, and that's where it was explicitly stated that you could use CBD oil. So there was a previous farm bill, but it was so unclear that it only fringes of people would actually use that in hemp processing. So it wasn't until 2018 that everything just kind of blew up. So it was a really great thing, and now. There's opportunities for exports also with hemp fibers. That's another thing that is very, very appealing. And the USDA, in fact, they have programs where they'll pre-purchase your loan with loan money and stuff, and guaranteed loans on exports. So it is hemp is one of those things that's been around in the U.S. for hundreds of years, and it makes sense that it should be legalized and used as a rotation crop again.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong though, but most of the hemp, and this probably was before 2018, most of the hemp was imported, correct? We weren't growing it here?
Yeah, no, we were actually growing it here.
Okay.
There was a 2014 bill that was there that allowed some growth, but it was not written in a way that was clear enough that really allowed someone to, with reasonable business sense, to go out and start to grow it. So everything was clarified in the 2018 bill, and that was basically Mitch McConnell in the Kentucky hemp. It's huge in Kentucky, right? So a big deal happened there, and they got it through and signed into law, and the rest is history. I mean, right now we're on this climb up to $20+ billion in overall market size in the next couple of years. So it's really exciting. A lot of people want to get into it. There's different points of entry. You have the retail side of it, you have the manufacturing side of it, and you have the growing farmer side. So you just decide where you want to enter and go for it.
What types of barriers to entry is there with each one of those points? Obviously, you mentioned a few minutes ago that there's some type of government assistance. Is that assistance available for all of those, or is it only available for some of them? Or again, talk a little bit about some of the hurdles that you would have to jump through creating the various types of businesses.
So a lot of people approach us because they've done some back of the napkin calculations, and they think they're going to be like billionaires overnight. Okay, it just doesn't quite work that way. Okay, I have a rule of two when it comes to entrepreneur ideas, and that is it's going to take you twice as long and twice as much money to get to the revenue number that you think. Okay, and that seems to always hold true. So we help people really create their business plan. So people come to us, they come to us sometimes with an idea and some funding, and then they look at the marketplace and they're saying, okay, look, we want to be involved in this explosion. So how do we interface? And that can be done from the farmer side. Now, starting there, farmers typically they're growing corn and they're growing soy, and they're looking at prices, and they're like, okay, I want to upgrade my crops, and I want to sell hemp instead of these items. Okay, well, the big barrier there is the channel to market, which is the vapor pen. So you're going to from basically a planted good or a biomass to the actual end product. And then the end product, of course, you have a brand, you have retail, you have all that stuff. So you have to be able to plug into those channels that have the brands, that have the retail, that have the customers, that are creating the demand for your biomass product. Just don't. A lot of people, they'll just go out and start growing it because they want it's legal, and it's a really good way to lose a lot of money. Okay. But if you have a good supply agreement ahead of time, then that's a really great place of entry. The second place of entry really is the manufacturing side. And that's where you're converting the biomass into oils and or products for wholesale or your own brand. It's a really great place to enter because you're upgrading a product, which is the biomass, to something where there's multiple points of margin. So a lot of people have entered at that level, and then there's the pure strict retail brand level, and that just takes you can see the skill sets are completely different from the farming to bringing it into a manufacturing facility and converting everything into a real product, and then also then onto a real product out into the brand. So once you have that brand, of course, that's where you hit the consumers, and the consumers are saying, well, I like this, I don't like this. Here I'm going to buy this brand because it really looks good. And so you really have to take a look at those three areas from an investor perspective and understand where your skills and strengths lie, and where maybe you can partner with some people. So suppose you want to be vertically integrated. You want to go and you want to have your farm to vapor pen products. Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to need to gather a coalition of entrepreneurs. Okay. To really make that happen. And I would say that the coalition is best done in terms of a vehicle via contract or contingent contract, rather than like partnering with on a business. So You guys keep all your own business, you get all your own profits, but we just agree to work together on in a contractual way. That's the best way to do entrepreneurship.
Got it. So basically, I guess on the farming side of things, obviously you need the land, you need the space, you need the harvesting equipment. I'm assuming there is
Yep.
equipment that goes along, like specialized
Right.
equipment that, for harvesting just this, correct?
Yeah, there is, and a lot of it's done by hand now because a lot
Okay.
of the specific implements haven't really been out on the market yet.
Okay.
There are some people who are adapting existing, combine, but I would say that this crop is not like a back of a tractor seat type of crop. You're going to be working really hard.
Yeah.
You have irrigation and you have to take care of the plants. One thing that's interesting about the plant itself is that there's a male-female version of it, and you don't want any of the males around. So you have to go out and inspect the actual plants and pull the males. You have
Wow.
Yes. So there can only be ladies in your field. Otherwise, you're going to get lots of seeds in your flowers. And so that becomes an issue. So
Interesting. And where do the male plants come from if there's only females there? I mean, is it just
typically they're bred. Like in a plant breeding program, you would feminize it so that the seeds would only be female. But in some cases, maybe you have hermaphroditing occurring. That's one possibility. And then sometimes the males get, genetics, it's hard to keep things. Genetics aren't necessarily stable all the time. So you'd have to, sometimes there's always a small percentage of the males in there. So you got to watch it. So if you want to preserve your crop. There are, getting back on the farming side, USDA has a loan program where you can go in and you can look. I think it's $400,000 you can get started, and some people have taken advantage of that program. And then on the export side, there's also, which I had mentioned before, there's also help there for guaranteed loans or in the event that you do an export. So there's different programs there. You should talk to your USDA type banker, and they should know about those programs to help you out. Yeah. On the manufacturing side, the loans there are typically at a higher rate of interest because of the nature of the market, and you have to have very good credit and also pretty strong personal balance sheet to qualify for the loan. So, two different ways people do it. They either get a partner with the cash, and the guy puts down the cash, or they get a partner with the cash who can qualify for the loan. So a lot of entrepreneurs use other people's money to their start it up.
Yeah. So if you were interested in getting involved in the manufacturing side of things, obviously there's the connections and the funnel of product into you, and then where you're passing that product on to, whether it be exports or some type of end product manufacturer. What types of facilities do you need for that? Any other equipment that would be needed?
Yeah.
I mean, what types of things do you need to run in that center section?
So a bunch of different things. Okay, so you're going to need a lot of equipment and know-how and facilities. I've written extensively about this and also done a tremendous number of podcasts specifically on these things. There are rules and there are requirements, and that's something that contacting a company like ours, extractlab.com, you can go there. We pretty much take care of you. If you come in, we'll find out where you're at on your business plan. We'll help you take that business plan and bring it down to numbers so that it can be pitched. We'll give you resources to help you pitch, in fact. And then after that, we'll give you an idea about what kind of capital equipment will go on your balance sheet, what kind of cash working capital you're going to need to get started up. Depending on your business plan, we tailor this to each one of our clients.
Interesting. And
we do put people in the business.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, it's great. I mean, it's kind of like you're like a middleman connecting all the pieces together and doing all the legwork and research. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, our deal there is, of course, we do facility designs, and then we're equipment manufacturers. So I'm a scientist, like in the beginning, and so you'd be using Dr. John's equipment. And we invented the equipment. We put it all together. We've been refining it over many, many years now. Yeah, so you'll be using the state of the art equipment for sure. And we build that all in. We train you guys how to get it all done. We give you SOPs, which are standard operating procedures, instructions for use. We train all your people. And then we also have a facility for training that you can go to do all the training and get certified. So from an operational perspective, we got your back. From the investment standpoint, we can give you some advice and help you with calculators and things like that for, finding out what your operational costs are and things like that. You're going to need to know that when you go in front of an investor. And then you have to know what you're going to do with the end product too. And that's usually where, begin with the end in mind when you're making your business plan, right? You got to define your product up front so you can create a forecast, so you can project that out over time and discount your cash flow to today's dollars, right? Yep. So you need to do. And so we help them decide, okay, what is, based on their strengths and weaknesses, what's the best place for them to be interfacing with the market.
Interesting. And are there any limitations to locations that can do this, or is this basically any of the 50 states you can farm, manufacture?
A couple of exceptions. Idaho is one of them. You can't do anything in Idaho in terms of hemp, but pretty much everywhere else. I think North Dakota just passed their law, and I think that the rest of them have adopted the USDA rules for federal law. So the federal law, the Farm Bill took effect, and then the states adopt it with their own, they have to appropriate funds for administration of programs. So that's what the adoption is. And if this doesn't adopt it, then it's not legal. So most of the states have ratified it. There are a couple exceptions. I have a podcast on hemp legal, which if anybody's interested in all the details associated with hemp legal, there's a lot of things to think about from a business standpoint. You can go there and check out that particular thing.
Yeah,
and there's also rules that I have there too. So just think about that if you're interested. Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And if you wanted to just invest in the CBD or hemp industry, are there channels that you would suggest going through? Maybe you don't want to be the actual person doing the work. You just want to put up the cash. Any advice there?
Yeah. Well, one thing that you could do, it depends on what your appetite is for risk. One thing that we do is a partnering. So sometimes we might find an excellent operator or an excellent guy that has a brand that needs an operator and an investor. So sometimes if you have an idea and say, hey, I'm an investor, raise your hand, say, I'm an investor. I'd like to find a strong partner and I want to get into the business because I think that this is going to be, I want to get into it. Give us a call and we can put you together with some people, okay, that we feel are strong. Maybe the partnership will work, maybe it doesn't. We don't really get involved with that, but we make introductions, okay. So that's a big deal. Also, you can invest on the stock market, okay? Oh. And there are some stocks that are publicly traded where you can invest. Those probably it's a risk reward type of thing. So your reward is going to be obviously a lot less than if you started your own business and built it up to 10 million and sold it off. That's going to be a greater reward at the end. So you just got to decide what your risk reward profile is. I would say that I would stick with the larger stocks, with the larger market caps, obviously. And go for it. But, a lot of people from an investment side, they want to take a risk, partnering or, I don't know. I haven't been a big fan of the OTC, but there's a lot of them on there that are doing that right now. They have OTC and pink sheets, whatever. You can go there and invest. So
I love it. I love it. Yeah, this is fascinating. If someone
it's the
wanted to,
wild, it is the Wild West, the hemp Wild West.
it's that's what it seems like. Yeah, I mean, it seems like this is all just so new, and everybody's just trying to figure it out. And like you're building machines and equipment, trying to figure out how to best process this, and that's exactly what it seems like. It is the Wild West. I mean, that's exciting. That's very very cool. Um,
People are just trying to keep up with the growth in the market and
yeah,
the adoption of it. Yeah, and so and it hasn't even hit mainstream. I mean, it's relegated to small, like small CBD stores. Okay, that's definitely not mainstream. Okay, and there's coming the time in the next 5 years where it's going to be in large mass retail.
yeah, yeah, and that's where you see CBD the CBD industry headed is more mass.
Mass retail, yeah.
Yeah,
And see it as like hemp derived products, or you'll see, hemp derived products, supplements, things like that for sure.
yeah, that's fascinating. Well, John, this is really really cool. If someone wanted to learn more about you, your services, the industry, any suggestions on where they can go and do that?
Sure. You can go to extractlab.com, EXTRAKT, it's spelled with a K, T lab.com. And there we have podcasts, we have calculators, we have guides you can download. And I've written most of them. So if there's a misspelled word, it's my fault. But yeah, there we have hundreds of hours of podcast content too. So go check it out. And the mini courses are just starting now, so you can actually be certified if you want to. And like I said, we've been teaching people to get into the business for
Mhm.
for years now. So yeah, so people like to get certified, and so we're allowing them to be certified for processing or extraction or hemp business or quality or whatever that they're interested.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, no, again, John, this is really interesting, and certainly wish you nothing but luck or success with all of this. I mean, it's really an interesting industry, being able to sort of be on the ground floor as this all kind of explodes around you. So
And it's so fun.
yeah.
It's fun, So and by the way, my office does smell great. It smells it. So, and our building is filled up with fresh hemp, and so you get that nice fresh hemp smell. It's just absolutely it's a delight to be here. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. No, I certainly appreciate the time, John, and we'll check back with you in the future and see what new things are popping up. And
Thanks a lot, Matt. Take
yeah,
care.
no problem.